We have several more huge NHL signings, including some mega extensions for some key players, including UC Saros, Jerard Slafkovsky, plus Matvei Michkov of the Flyers has officially signed his entry-level contract. Plus, we have several other UFA signings we're going to discuss, including a bunch with the Edmonton Oilers. They've been able to retain a lot of their players, plus add to it, including Jeff Skinner. Plus, we have news on the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Vegas Golden Knights are signing Ilya Samsonov. Several other signings as well, including Shane Gostisbehere and more, coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have several more big signings to take a look at here today. It really has been a crazy historical day in the world of the NHL when it comes to their signings. It's well over $1 billion now. I think it's around 150 signings that have taken place today. Of course, not all were UFAs. Some of those which were extensions or signing with their existing teams, but certainly a big day. It's been really tough to keep up with all the news, and I certainly appreciate you for all the views and watching along here with the channel. It's been a challenge for me to try to keep up with it all and not miss anything important. But here's the latest batch of pretty big important signings. We'll start with Montreal signing the first overall pick from a few years ago. Gets a huge extension. Jerard Slafkovsky going into the final year of his entry-level deal this year. Signs a mega 8-year deal at $7.6 million. That's just shy of $61 million total. That's a pretty big contract, but based on his first year, you couldn't have seen that coming. But last year was a major breakthrough for him. He certainly, later in the season especially, got to play a lot with Caulfield and Suzuki and proved to be a really good fit. So obviously they feel like the sky's the limit on him. They really like the bet that they're taking on this former first overall selection. He's a real big kid. He's a big body. He's still adjusting to the game in the NHL in North America. And at the end of the day, it just seems like he does have a lot of raw potential. So clearly, he'll be similar type number that we've seen for Suzuki and Caulfield. And if they turn out those three to be their top line for the next, 5 to 7 years, for example, and they're all making around $7 to $7.5 or so million, then that's a pretty good first line. As this salary cap goes up and those three are locked up long term to those numbers, that's pretty darn good. So as long as their development continues and they continue to be a really good first line, this will age very, very well. I think long term this will be a good deal for Montreal. Clearly this is a case of getting ahead of it because, as we say, with young players that are still developing and getting better, it never gets cheaper. So kudos on Ken Hughes for getting this done. I hope it works out for them. Another big extension today, which we had heard rumblings of before the July 1, UC Saros inks the 8-year extension with the Nashville Predators. Barry Trotz has had probably the busiest day of his life. Currently, still pretty new to this GM role. Really, he's been at it for a year. And if you take a look at it, he's looking at all these other experienced GMs around the league going, I think I kind of got this figured out here. They're just signing everybody today. They added Steven Stamkos. They added Jonathan Marchessault. They added Brady Shea. They brought back Carrier. At the end of the day, the Preds have been super busy. Now they lock up their goalie on a pretty good contract. So Saros' number turns out to be $7.74 million over 8 years. So the 7.74, some guys like to have this weird thing where the jersey numbers worked into their contract. He does wear number 74. I don't think that's a coincidence, and it's 7.74. But at the end of the day, he's a great goalie. There's no doubt. Many thought with the 1 year left on his deal, and the fact that the rumor was he was looking for $8 million plus, that they were going to end up moving on from Saros and moving into Askarov, who's been really good in the minors the past couple of years. And that's not happening. I mean, they also brought in Wedgwood to be the backup goalie on a multi-year deal as well. So it's fair to say Yaroslav Askarov is definitely going to be moved. I have no doubt. And he's going to want to be. I'm sure he has already talked to them about this matter of time. And next, so they also brought back Carrier on a 3-year deal at $3.75 million. The defenseman was rumored to possibly be on the move, but they brought him back. And so another big contract today was Matvei Michkov has officially signed with the Philadelphia Flyers. Signs his 3-year ELC. Of course, we knew a few days back that he had gotten his release out of the Russian league and that this was going to happen. And now it's made official. Michkov has got everything lined up and will be in the Flyers lineup this fall. It's going to be a very interesting group of rookies this coming year and battling for the top spots in the Calder Trophy type of stuff. Michkov should be quite an exciting guy to watch, and I'm sure the Flyers are ecstatic to get him officially signed up here. So Matvei Michkov gets his 3-year ELC, gets all the top bonuses that they're allowed to have and everything of that nature. So good on Danny Briere and the Flyers for getting this done. Then we get to the UFA stuff. Like I said, there's still a bunch more. The Maple Leafs signed a defenseman from Dallas, Yanni Hakanpää. So the Leafs continue to revamp their blue line. That's multiple blue liners that they've signed today. Of course, they brought in Chris Tanev, who also came from Dallas via Calgary at the deadline last year. And of course, they signed Hakanpää as well. The Hakanpää contract's 2 years at $1.5 million. So for somebody who can probably be on your third pair, that's pretty good. So they brought in Tanev, they brought in Hakanpää, they signed Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They still have McCabe, they still have Riley. They signed Liljegren, they still have Connor Timmins. Like right now, they have too many defensemen. I wouldn't be shocked if somebody is moved, whether it's Liljegren or Timmins or somebody like that. I know I've seen Timothy Liljegren do a media today saying how happy he was to get signed and staying in Toronto and all that. So I don't know what conversations they've had about his future. Some players are more valuable signed than not signed, so I don't know how that'll work out. But they could let this play out till training camp as well and either move a defenseman, put somebody on waivers or what have you. But the Leafs completely revamped their blue line. We also got Carolina revamping their blue line after losing Brady Shea and Brett Pesce, who both there for a significant period of time and a big part of their success. They signed Shane Gostisbehere, who gets a 3-year contract at $3.2 million. Gostisbehere did have a brief stint in Carolina before, after because he went from the Flyers. The Flyers had to pay Arizona to take his contract, which was crazy, I thought, at the time. Went to Arizona, did really well. Got moved to Carolina at the trade deadline a few years ago. Did fine there. Then, of course, he was basically extra insurance at that point for the Hurricanes, and they were dealing with injuries at the time as well. And then he gets signed by Detroit on a multi-year deal, which is now expired, and now he's back to Carolina. I'm surprised Detroit didn't try to keep him, to be honest, because at this price, for what he put up last year, I think this is a pretty good signing. This is a really valuable deal. The Canes are known for finding these thrifty deals, and it looks really good. They also signed Sean Walker, right shot defenseman, of course, who was in LA, got moved to the Avalanche for the deadline. He gets a 5-year deal at $3.6 million. So they don't bring back Pesce or Shea, who combined. Shea signed for $7 million in Nashville, and Pesce gets, what was it, 5 times 6 or something like that? I can't remember because I have so many contracts in my head here today. Big deal in New Jersey for him, which is kind of like a homecoming, like I said. Grew up close to just outside of New Jersey. So, Walker and Gostisbehere, maybe you lose a little bit defensively there, but still, that's 2 defensemen for the price of 1. So, overall, I think they did well. The Avalanche have signed a couple of depth pieces here. They've signed Calvin DeHaan, one year deal, $800,000, and they signed Parker Kelly, former Ottawa Senator, 2-year deal at $825,000. So nothing crazy, but some depth options there. The Sharks have brought in a few names, including Alex Wenberg, who went from Seattle to the Rangers last year. He gets a 2-year deal, $5 million per season. And they also signed Lucas Carlson to a 2-year contract. The defenseman, hard to say what kind of role he's going to get, but $775, so it's league minimum. If he doesn't make the team, he can also be put through waivers or whatnot and not really count against the cap. As I mentioned, the Oilers had a bunch of signings. They've been able to keep a lot of their UFAs as well as add some new faces. They bring back Corey Perry on a 1-year deal for $1.4 million. They signed Connor Brown for 1 year, $1 million. They signed Matthias Janmark, comes back on a 3-year deal at $1.45 million per season, which is really good. They bring back Troy Stetcher, who they had signed or brought in at the deadline. He gets a 1-year extension as well. I don't know the amount. It's probably somewhere under $1 million or league minimum or something to that effect. They also signed Colin Delia, who's expected to probably be their number 3 goalie. He gets a 1-year league minimum contract. And then they go and they sign Jeff Skinner. who's gone from the Buffalo Sabres. There was reports earlier today that if Jeff Skinner was going to go to a Canadian team, that Edmonton would be the one. Jeff Skinner's never seen a playoff game. 1,000 games in the NHL, no playoffs. So he's gone to Corey Perry, who's gotten, 4 to 5 years in the final, is it? I think this is a stat. He's been in the final a lot. And obviously the last number of years, he seems to be the guy that goes to the finals and loses, unfortunately. But he'll get to the playoffs, and Jeff Skinner probably wanted to attach himself to Corey Perry in that sense. But great find. Obviously getting bought out in Buffalo, he can be flexible when he's getting paid. $3 million for a player who can... He's a phenomenal skater. Obviously trained in figure skating a lot when he was younger. Like, the skating on this guy is incredible. At times, though, a little bit inconsistent with the goals, but he should be able to be a top 6. They also brought in, of course, Victor Arvidsson, who I talked about earlier. So, I mean, they add a couple of guys who can be top 6, middle 6 wingers in Skinner and Arvidsson. They keep Perry, they keep Brown, they keep Janmark. Adam Henrique is still out there. I don't know that they're going to be able to keep him, but at the end of the day, the Oilers have done a lot of good stuff here. Some other signings: former Oiler Warren Foegele goes to the Los Angeles Kings on a 3-year contract at $3.5 million. So that's an interesting signing there for LA. They also brought back Trevor Lewis, 1 year $800,000, and Phoenix Copley, 1 year $825,000. The Winnipeg Jets have signed a couple of players, including a couple of goalies. They bring back Eric Comrie. I think it's his third time I go around there with them. 2 years at $825,000. And then the Capo Kakinen, another goalie, 1 year $1 million. So they'll have some competition for the backup on who's going to be the number 3. They also brought back Colin Miller, the right shot defenseman, signed a 2-year deal of $1.5 million. Detroit brings back Christian Fischer, 1-year deal at $1.125. So he returns to Detroit. The Wild also extended Jake Middleton today, 4-year deal, $4.35. The Lightning have got a few signings here. They brought in former Montreal Canadian Jesse Yellowman, a 1-year 2-way deal, league minimum. They signed Zygmus Girgensons, formerly of the Sabres. He gets a 3-year contract at $850,000. I mean, the Lightning seem to like those 3- and 4-year deals where it's under $1 million to kind of play a bottom 6 role. It really helps with their cap situation since they're always so tight up against it. So Girgensons will take that role. Pittsburgh brought in a few players as well. Definitely some guys that are a little bit younger and good skaters. We'll see what this adds for their lineup, but nothing really too impactful. Blake Lizotte signs a 2-year deal at $1.85 million. Emil Benstrom, 1 year, $775,000. And Anthony Beauvillier goes to Pittsburgh, 1 year times $1.25 million. Lizotte will probably be like maybe a 3 or 4 C for them. Probably, I hope for that price, probably a 3. But at the end of the day, guys that are younger, there's some skill there. They're good skaters. I don't know if it moves the needle a whole lot, though. The Vancouver Canucks lured away big Edmonton defenseman Vinny Desharnais. He gets a 2-year deal at $2 million. So obviously, with everything that the Oilers were doing, they did lose Desharnais, unfortunately. But obviously, they brought in some other guys there, so we'll see what happens with Desharnais. They also signed Derek Forbort, but I cannot locate the terms, have not been released in his contract. So the Canucks bring in some more size. They didn't bring back Zadorov, which they were disappointed about, but they get Desharnais and Forbort, who are both big boys, able to play a penalty kill, block shots, all those types of things as well. So you throw in Tyler Myers in there, and they got some size back there for sure. So, yeah, it's interesting. It'll be a different looking Canuck blue line, but definitely got some size for sure. The Dallas Stars, even though they didn't qualify him, they did re-sign Nils Lundqvist. The young defenseman gets a 1-year deal at $1.25 million. The Florida Panthers have brought back Chris Driedger. I found this interesting. Of course, Driedger played with them prior to the Seattle expansion, where he ended up going as a free agent. He gets a 1-year deal at $800,000. So Driedger comes to Florida. I wonder, is he going to be a number 3, or are they going to consider moving Spencer Knight, or wonder what they're going to do? Because they definitely could use the space that Knight's contract takes up, considering he got a big extension there at $4.5 million for a few years, and then ran into some issues and hasn't really lived up to it. But I know some of that stuff was off ice, and you feel for the kid. But from a business perspective, they need better use of that space. So I wonder if they'll make a move there. I'm curious there, or is Driedger strictly going to be a 3? AJ Greer signs, formerly of the Flames, and the Bruins most recently, 2-year deal at $850,000. TJ Brody, formerly of the Leafs, goes to Chicago. They add another veteran defenseman. Of course, they already brought in Alec Martinez as well today. Brody gets a 2-year deal, $3.75 million. So the Blackhawks making use of their space, certainly overpaying a group of veterans to come in and be good leaders and help their kids along and be more competitive. A lot of the money that Chicago gave out, these players never would have got elsewhere. Ilya Samsonov, of another former Leaf, is heading to the Vegas Golden Knights. He's going to have another 1-year deal, like a prove-it type contract. I was unable to locate, at this point, the AAV, but he is going to Vegas on a 1-year deal. So we'll see. I would imagine it's not a lot of money. They was described as another prove-it contract, which he's already done. But when he was proving it, it didn't really get proved all that great. Unfortunately, he proved to be inconsistent, which is why the Leafs moved on. So that is all those signings for now. I am working on another news-based video. There's some other news around the NHL and some trade rumors that I want to discuss. So that'll be coming tonight as well. So that is all for now. I'm working on another video as well. There'll be one more tonight, barring some other big news regarding anything else. But there's some other league news, some trade talk and stuff that I want to take a look at as well. So stay tuned. That'll be coming here shortly. So let me know your thoughts on these signings down below. We'll discuss further. The busy day, the free agent frenzy continues. And I'll catch you next time.